Hi, Joe Glavin with City Floor Supply. We're going to discuss the Galaxy BD12, the Galaxy Super BD12. The BD12, BD simply stands for belt drum combination. Anyone that's not familiar with the Galaxy 2000 Plus, pretty much the first sander to use the belt drum combination technology. So the idea behind belt drum combinations is to essentially save you, the user, the machine, the mechanic, money in abrasives. So you will use cut sheets of paper from the large 12-inch roll for the more aggressive cutting, down in that 24-36 grit range. And then as you ascend up in grits, you can use the belts for your final sandings, and that way you're not consuming heavy grit belts, which tend to be more expensive. That belt drum combination is also available in the 8-inch, so the BD belt drum, and then the 12 is obviously the size of the drum. So this is, large residential area, large ranch houses. I know that the 12-inch machines for residential are really popular, out in the West Coast. These BD12s, actually both of these that we have here are eventually going to be converted to a riding cart for gym floor sanding. So these will be paired up, and I'll go over some of the aftermarket products that we put on here to adapt those. But right now, as this looks, it would be for a residential sander. This particular unit has a 3-phase 9 horsepower motor on it to get it ready for that commercial environment, that commercial electricity that you're going to find at a gymnasium. But it is available in a 7 horsepower single phase 230 volt motor. The Galaxy motors are their horsepower rating is very accurate. They're wound in-house, and the motors themselves, they're not a shelf motor. So this wasn't a piece of equipment that a Leeson motor or Faraday or a Baldor motor was taken off the shelf and put on the chassis. These motors were wound, designed, and engineered for this piece of equipment. Puts Galaxy in a pretty unique position where they do that. So again, the residential version of this would be 7 horsepower, 230 volts. Just to go over some of the features on this, there's a run capacitor, a start capacitor in the motor, and then an electronic start, which would be a Simpac switch. What they're able to do with that Simpac switch is remove the mechanical contact switch that was typically in the end bell here on the older motors. So with the addition of the Simpac, you're in a dusty environment, and those mechanical switches would be typically the cause of failure for the motor. So by putting in an electronic start, it alleviates that. So again, great motor. As far as like dust pickup, so this unit has actually all of their units for their dust elbows have a double gasketed dustless elbow, which also helps it to keep the swivel going, one side to the other. We also have our cord holder, and When we outfit this for the rider, you'll see that that changes a little bit. We have a feather handle here, and we have back pressure and drum pressure. So for every notch you come up, you can pull this up and get a little bit of feathering action. You know, these units, as far as drum pressure, are pretty adjustable. You know, there is a noticeable difference when you're at the high pressure with that drum drop, or at low pressure. And pounds of pressure, I don't have that measured, but it goes from very light to very heavy. And there's a unique design with this BD12, with all the Galaxies, and that is this whole chassis pivots on an undercarriage. So if you were to take everything off of this and take the top chassis off, there would be connected to this handle tube assembly, the rear caster, and then the side wheels here. This is all one unit right here. Where with most sanders, you're going to have pressure springs that bring a frame up and allow the chassis to go down over top of it. Whereas this whole unit is carrying the load, and then it allows it to pivot on that frame with these pivot pins here, and you get constant contact of the drum to the floor. These back pressure springs are essentially pulling up the rear of this chassis so that you get full force on the drum. It's actually a pretty unique design. It's been around a while. I guess the old Clark 504 and 506, and before that the Porter Cable F89 and F87s all had that kind of design, as opposed to, you know, a chassis that's going to spring tension lower the drum to the floor. Hope I explained that well enough. So for removal of the motor, you can see that it's a pretty heavy duty motor, and it is heavy. You'll simply turn this, tilt the motor down, take the poly V belts off, and then loosen up thumb screws here and on the other side, and then pull the pins out. You'll be able to lift the motor out easily. So with the motor and the pulleys, we have a 1700 RPM motor, and with these poly V pulleys, you get phenomenal transfer of power from the motor to the drum. So you're not going to get any kind of slippage or typical V-belt wear. Very smooth in operation. Obviously technology used from the auto industry on, you know, large serpentine belts. So these J belts, poly V's, real smooth, not a lot of vibration to them at all. And I believe the RPMs for the fan are over 7,000, which is at least over 400 CFMs. You know, that fan is really spinning. Matter of fact, you'll hear it whistle when it's on in an empty bag. So the drum speed is actually 2,300 RPMs, and the fan speed is over 7,000. So you've got this large pulley down to this small pulley. We've got an idler pulley here to keep tension on the fan belt. But again, all belts easily removed, and once the motor's dropped, it can pull it right out. The covers are also removable. So what we have here, this is a belt adjustment and tensioning screw. We have a slotted drum here to take your typical cut paper off of the roll of paper. And then we also have top roller for running belt sandpaper. So you would actually use this screw here in order to track the paper. You can actually track the paper on this unit while it's running. Some of the other equipment, you'd have to shut the machine off, let it come to a stop, adjust it, start it back up, check it. That screw being on the outside of the machine allows you to adjust this paper while it's running. We have neoprene side wheels and a pivot wheel on the rear. We have a dust scoop. And again, on this side, which is also pretty unique to Galaxy, we have fan clean out. So you take these screws out, pull this out, and clean out the fan. So like I said earlier, this unit is going to be retrofitted for the gym floor sanding equipment. So it will get attached to a rider, and I'll just show you some of that. We'll do a separate video on that later. But this is some of the aftermarket pieces that we're going to be putting on, and you get the idea. This is going to be retrofitted here with a collar. That's going to raise it up, allow the operator to use that. Our tow package. So this is going to get mounted to the back here and allow us to put the toe pins in. And then there's a retrofit for the feathering handle that's going to get put in, attached to the cord holder assembly, and it'll act as a rocker arm on the bottom of the control handle. So all of that's going to allow a rider to operate, a mechanic to operate this equipment from a gym floor riding cart, which will also be 3-phase. And then this will get a double set of ram horns to operate 2 bags. So there'll be a total of 4 bags with the 2 sanders. So I'll go over a little bit what's in the, comes with the machine as far as accessories. So we have our operator's manual and registration for warranty. We have the sanding bag. So the Galaxy sanding bag also has this Velcro retainer. Put on, wrap this around, keep it dustless. Then we have all important carry handles. Anyone that's lifted a Galaxy knows you need these. These guys, these units are heavy, and matter of fact, I should get you the weight, but those are the carry handles. And then you have the Allen wrench to adjust the belt tracking, and your sandpaper wrenches for your cams on your slotted drum. So this is just for cut paper. And again, a lot of times these templates are just made for just approximate size. Every drum is going to be a little bit different. These are for where the folds are, but it's cut at the proper angle for the slot. I believe the slot is 10 degrees or more. The idea behind that is that not all of the slot is going to hit the floor at the same time to reduce chatter. But so anyhow, proper angle for the slot in the drum, proper tab depth, and I guess, you know, approximate length. And then you would just have to adjust it from there. All right, so if you have any questions with regard to the Galaxy Super BD12, you can give us a call at 800-737-1786. And for sure, go on to cityfloorsupply.com where you can take a look at this, and you'll also be able to see this outfitted fully as a gym floor sander.